So you can go to Switzerland for fishing, right?
Yes, I can. That is pretty cool. I do not have to get a license for fishing because there's a thing called freie Fischereirechte, which is free fishing rights. It basically says that everybody can fish. Yeah, I think you need to kill the fish. You can't just put them in. You can't do catch and release because I don't get why they do that here, but it's kind of um, told to be cruel to get out a fish and not kill it. But I think it is kind of cruel if the fish like has a fight and you get it out and you kind of do not kill it. I guess that's what they think.
So are there penalties for leaving hooks and line and stuff around?
Hooks and line. I haven't read into that, but I think then you're just not allowed to fish anymore. I guess because that's what it says.
So they actually enforce it then?
Yeah, I mean they enforced it in Germany, and in Germany you also have to get a fishing or kind of a fishing license for the lake or for the river you're fishing in, and this can get pretty expensive. Yeah, but as I said, I could technically, if I've read it right, fish from the border of the lake in Switzerland. But here's the catch: I do not know if I can actually get the fish from Switzerland back to Germany. I think have you read it? I mean, you have been to an airport.
Yeah, you can't. You have to sign this waiver while you're on the plane that says, I will not take like sand or glass or beads. Like, I went to Hawaii in January, and you can't bring sand from Hawaii to the mainland, as they call it. So, is it kind of like the same thing there?
Well, I think or that's what I've read on those signs. I mean, if I think they had those signs on the airport Denver as well, because for foreign flights, you kind of I think it's different in the EU if you have a flight from somewhere in the EU to somewhere else.
Now, in the U, you mean the U.S., right?
No, EU, European Union.
EU. Okay, got it. But today, we're not talking about fishing. We're talking about road trips. You can get to Switzerland in 15 minutes by car, which is really unfair because it takes me 10 hours and 30 minutes from my house to get to either Mexico or Canada. And if you drive in a car for 9 hours and 30 minutes, you can visit 6 different countries if you drive for 9 hours and 30 minutes.
I mean, I could go to Switzerland, then turn back around, go to Austria, and then go to Liechtenstein, and then I don't know, there are a lot of countries. I could go to Italia, France, France, Italia.
Yeah, you go from Germany to Switzerland, and then from Switzerland to Austria, and then you go back into Germany. So you barely cut through Switzerland and Austria, and then you travel through Germany past Munich up into Deggendorf. Does that ring a bell? No? And then you go up into, I don't know how to pronounce this. It's Czechia.
Oh yeah, Czechian.
How do you say it?
Czechian.
Czechian?
Yes.
Well, you go from Germany into there, and then you go like a mile in, and then you come back, and then you go back into Austria. So you go from Germany to Austria into Czechia. I really messed that up.
Czechian. Well, I think it's pronounced differently in English, so.
Probably, yeah. So you go from Austria to Czechia, and then you go back into Austria, and then you go through Austria past Vienna, and then you go into Slovakia. You barely go through Slovakia. You go through Slovakia for like 5 miles, and then you end up in Hungary. So that's your 9.5 hour trip through 6 countries. But then remember, it's 9.5 hours back. So, but I actually originally, or I guess what originally sold me on the road trips idea was we were talking right before we recorded the trailer, and your dad said, yeah, we were going to go up to, I don't remember which city it was, and he said, but it was like 4 hours to get there.
Which one? Like to my grandparents?
Yeah, probably. Is that about 4 hours away?
It is. It's. Oh wait, no. To my aunt, it's 4 hours. That is Gießen. To my grandma, it's Frankfurt am Main, and that is about 3.5 hours. I mean, if you can go fast, it's 3 hours, but yeah, it is. I mean, for us, it's a long time driving 3 hours or 4 hours because we just don't do that as often as you guys do.
So when you came over here, we went to Moab and then in Utah, and then we went to the Grand Canyon. So you were suffering on that trip, man. That was rough for you. That was a total of 22 hours 24 minutes according to Google Maps. So if you're used to going 8 hours,
3.5 hours.
yeah, up to your grandma's, then 22 hours was probably pretty rough for you. And that was over the course of like a week. So you spent a day in the car over the course of a week, which you guys are not used to just because your country is the size of Montana, which isn't even our largest state. That was a total of 1,401 miles and 2,255 kilometers. So you can tell your family and your brothers that you went 2,255 kilometers in the car over the course of a week.
Yeah, as said, we just don't drive that much because I feel like it's a little more dense, or like the population is more packed here in Europe. So I think I've looked that
Do you know
up
what the
because
population of Germany is?
population of Germany, I think it's 800 million.
800 million? There's no way. 83 million.
83 million.
There we go.
I just added a zero in my mind.
Yep.
But yeah, I've looked it up because I was curious about how many people are there in Colorado. Because is it Colorado?
I think there's 4, right?
4.
4 million. And then there's 500,000 in Wyoming. And in Montana, which is about the size of Germany, there's 1 million. So there's 83 times the density in Germany as there is in Montana. And they're the same size. So the next thing we should talk about is the differences in roads, how your roads are all curvy.
That is a thing that kind of, me as a runner, kind of nags me, that our roads are all curvy. I mean, you could say that there's a major difference because you call it the high plains, right?
Yeah. Just a flat terrain would be a plain.
Yes. And we totally don't have that. It's just all hilly here. And it's not really possible to go like more than a kilometer without having a hill. Probably not even a kilometer.
Yeah, it's the same west of my house. It goes from like the start of the foothills, and then once you get past the start of the foothills, it's the mountains. So there's really no straight paths anywhere west of my house. There are straight paths, I mean level paths. So do you know why roads in Germany are curvy?
I do not, actually. I think it is because they kind of go with the terrain. Or is it terrain? Terrain. Yeah, they kind of go with the terrain, meaning that there's a hill and it kind of goes in, then the road follows it, trying to stay on the same height instead of going straight forward and dropping down and going up again.
Yeah, I understand that. I think another part of it is, this was my hypothesis, and then I looked it up, and this is what it said. So, Germany was around for a lot longer than America was. America is 250 years old. So there were people in Germany before there were in America, and there were people there a lot longer before there were cars. So people just made curvy paths because it's easy to walk on a curvy path. It's easy. I mean, even if they had like a wagon or something, It's easy to drag it on a curvy path, but with a car, it's at 70 kilometers per hour. It's harder to make all those curvy turns. So most of the roads, or a lot of the roads in Germany, were built before the car was introduced.
That makes sense.
And then in America, we were only around for about 100 years before the car was introduced. So we didn't have a huge opportunity to create roads. I mean, that's only 100 years before the car was introduced. So as soon as the car was introduced, we were like, oh, hey, we need roads now. I mean, we needed roads before, but we didn't need them as much because there weren't as many people. But 100 years later, a lot more people were coming over, and then the car was introduced. So they were like, oh, well, I mean, build straight roads because of the car. So if you look of a road map of America, or pretty much anywhere in America, it's going to be like a grid. And then I'm looking at the one in Germany right now, and it looks like when you look at like a scan of somebody's veins, it literally looks like just a bunch of veins. It's all curvy. And then I switched to America, and yeah, there are some curvy roads and stuff, but mostly when you zoom in, it's just a grid. I mean, I'm looking at a national park right now, so there aren't any roads. But like the highways and stuff, they're kind of curvy. But in pretty much any subdivision, it's just essentially a grid.
Wait, my hypothesis then would be if the people were settling at the East Coast first, and there were no cars, they would put roads on the East Coast,
and they would be more curvy.
And they would be more curvy. And I'm now just looking at, what is that? Like somewhere around New York. And
are they mostly curvy?
They are mostly curvy.
If you look at Los Angeles, it's all gritty. And then if you go over to Malibu, then north of that, north and east and west of that, it's all curvy. I think that goes with what you were saying about how it kind of goes with the terrain. So what is your family road trip vehicle?
Well, if you can call it a road trip vehicle, it is a van or a multivan. Yeah. It's a T4, I guess.
Is it a Volkswagen?
Yeah, Volkswagen. Oh, it's not a T4. A T4 is actually the very old one. It's probably T5 or something else. But
so is that the one with the flat front?
Yes.
So what's the seating situation when you guys go on, I'm doing air quotes here, road trips?
Mostly my brothers, Max and Philip, they sit in the back.
So the back?
We don't put all 3 rows in. If we leave the left seat out on the middle row, Christoph can sit on the back row on the left, so he has more foot room. My mom will probably sit in the middle because she wants to take care of Max and Philip, like if they need food or water or something.
So speaking of food, what do you typically bring? I mean, for 4 hours, you probably don't need to eat, but if you do bring food, what is it?
Trüffelpastete, which is, Leberwurst,
Liverwurst, yeah.
Yeah, liverwurst, and it's with Trüffel. It is probably a finer liverwurst, if you can say that. I don't know, maybe there's another difference, but I am not that educated on sausages and wurst that I know that. It's kind of traditional. We only eat that stuff when we're at the house of my grandma. But it tastes pretty great, and she always makes breads with that. So that's what we eat.
So do you stop at a gas station or anything on the way, or can you make the entire trip on one tank of gas?
I mean, it depends if we have enough gas in the tank.
So when you stop at a gas station, is it just for gas? Like, is it just the pump, or is there a store that you can go into as well?
There's a store, but it is usually very overpriced. Like, it is super expensive. Like, it is even kind of like if you would go to Switzerland and buy something. That's why, I think I've told you that, all the people from Switzerland, come
Switzerland, come to Germany.
come to Germany because it's like probably half the price. I'm not kidding. You would pay 8 Franken or 8 Franken, which is like €8 for a big bottle of Coca-Cola.
No.
This was on our bike trip, and it
Oh my
it's
gosh.
always a rip, and that are normal prices in Switzerland, and that's why nobody buys stuff in Switzerland. I mean, why would you buy your groceries in Switzerland if it's double the price?
And
And
it's a 15-minute drive, right?
yes, and they even get lower taxes on what they buy, and that's why you should never try to go from Constance to Kreuzlingen, which is the town in Switzerland, on a Saturday or Friday, because it is so crowded. Like the traffic jam goes into the city, and it's like a kind of 5 kilometers long traffic jam on the border if you go in rush hour.
So what does the border crossing look like?
It is not that impressive actually. It's just
No, so they don't like check everything, and they don't.
no, they don't.
Do they take passports there?
I've never had my passport looked at. They mostly just wave you through. I mean, you can go out pretty easily from Germany to Switzerland, but you can't.
It's harder to get back in.
Yeah, it's harder to get back in. I mean, as I said, they've never checked on me, or I've never seen anybody, or known anybody that got checked. So they probably just do that with trucks. And if they see like a suspicious car driving over the border 5 times, and they'll suspect that they are smuggling stuff, then they'll probably check on those. But I've never been checked.
So when you go into the gas station, can you buy food? Like, what kind of food is there?
It's mostly just junk food. Like some gas stations have a bakery, which is not really a bakery like the one we get our bread from.
Yeah, you rarely see that in America. I mean, a bakery in America is the place where they sell the prepackaged muffins.
Yeah, that's what I mean by those bakeries and gas stations.
So is it just like mostly just racks of junk food, like chips and gummies and stuff like that, and then maybe a little section of a bakery?
Yeah, mostly.
So are there soft drink dispensers like with Coca-Cola where you can put your cup under and then you push the button and it comes out, it spits it out? Are there those?
Or like the one where we went with your grandma once at.
Oh, the Quick Trip? Where it was like the frozen frappuccinos and stuff?
Yeah.
Not necessarily frozen, but like just normal Coca-Cola coming out. Do you guys have those at all?
No, we don't.
No? Huh. If there isn't one in a gas station, then like you don't go to that gas station.
Well,
I mean, some people go to the gas station not to get gas, but to refill their 32-ounce thing of Coca-Cola or whatever.
If that's what you want to do at a gas station, I mean,
some people do it. So here, sometimes they have bakeries and stuff, and then typically there's a warm section, and it has these little mechanized rollers, and then there's a heat lamp on top, and it has hot dogs and sausages rolling on these little rollers.
This is superior to German gas stations. Kind of like your movie theaters. I mean, I will never, ever. I mean, I'm not a movie theater guy, but there's like no way I'm ever going to go into a German movie theater because they're just so overpriced, and I just don't get the value for the $8 I pay for a ticket. So, wait, American gas stations. That is so amazing. Yeah, I think you guys are, in that point, way ahead. Or your shops are way ahead of the German ones. if I don't get the value from going into a shop that I can get from online shopping, then there's no point for me in going to a shop. And if I look at your shops, like at your sporting good, like probably like Jack's or Shields, there's more value in going into a shop because you can actually look at the stuff and kind of try it, and there's like a Ferris wheel in the shop. So
There's a giant Ferris wheel to try to bring you into the store rather than
yeah.
just shopping online.
And as said, the for example, American gas stations, they actually give the value that people want. Like you can refill your stuff, you can get hot dogs, you can get more stuff, you can what else? Like these souvenirs.
Yeah, they sell souvenirs, and that's another big thing because you just go in and it's an impulse buy. I mean, you don't search the internet for souvenirs. You don't go onto Amazon and look up California souvenirs so that I can say I went to California. Like, you don't do that. You get it because you were there. So I think that's another big appeal.
Yeah, and I mean, I can get a hot dog. I mean, can you get a hot dog on Amazon? So you can find us at Anchor.
Yeah, so that's anchor.fm/Egan-Benedict. If you want to hear the spellings of that, go back to the trailer. It's at the end. I spelled the whole thing out. We have our website, VennDiagramPodcast.wixsite.com/site. Email us at VennDiagramPodcast@gmail.com with any ideas or anything that you might want to tell us. And anything else?
I do not have anything else. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next episode.
Here we go. I'm just going to clap so I can see it on the waveform.
Should I clap too?
No, you're good.
I clap anyways.